The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.thebenjamindixonshow.com to register for our blog and join the Progressive Army.
Today is Monday, October 7th, 2019. I at a loss this morning. The president, actually, let me just read. This is what's going on. Today, President Donald J. Trump spoke with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey by telephone. Turkey will soon be moving forward with its long-planned operation into northern Syria. The United States Armed Forces will not support or be involved in the operation, and the United States forces, having defeated the ISIS territorial caliphate, will no longer be in the immediate area. The United States government has pressed France, Germany, and other European nations from which many captured ISIS fighters came to take them back, but they did not want them to and refused. The United States will not hold them for what could be many years. Turkey will now be responsible for all ISIS fighters in the area captured over the past 2 years in the wake of the defeat of the territorial caliphate by the United States. The most important part of that statement is the first part. Today, President Donald J. Trump spoke with President Recep Tayyip Erdogan of Turkey by telephone. Turkey will soon be moving forward with its long-planned operation into northern Syria. This particular news has really thrown me for a loop this morning because it does several things. As everyone, if you've been following this at all, what's been coming up over and over again is the betrayal of the Kurds, the betrayal of the Kurdish-led forces, the SDF, the Syrian Democratic Forces, the very people that American soldiers have been fighting side by side with for years now. The SDF, I believe, was formed in 2015. And they are by far and wide the reason ISIS is in the weakened state that it is in. In fact, this incursion, this push from Erdogan is going to potentially put, I think I read 10 to 20,000 ISIS soldiers who are in prison. They are imprisoned in this territory and they are being guarded by Kurdish-led SDF forces. And this incursion, while Turkey and the United States may say it's going to be limited, we don't know what actually is going to happen when the bullets start flying. This could potentially unleash 10 to 20,000 ISIS fighters. Now, I'm just giving you that side of the equation, right? There's another side of this that we'll get to, but the potential for the resurgence of ISIS. And for what purposes, Mr. President? What reason? Because we have had a long-standing, tenuous, yes, relationship with Kurdish forces across the region. They have been our number one allies in this fight. The best fighters, hands down. And Erdogan, for his part, is terrified of the notion of a weakened northern Syria. Now, before I finish that thought, I have to take a sidestep. We're literally sitting back and getting ready to watch one nation intrude into the territory of another nation. Now, admittedly, the northern region of Syria is in a weakened position. It's no longer underneath the control of Bashar al-Assad. It has the potential of becoming a semi-autonomous, if not autonomous, region for the Kurds. And while there is a vast complexity of competing interests, we saw in 2018 when Turkey tried this. They tried this incursion in January 2018, and we saw the response not only from Assad in Syria, but also Russia, basically saying, hell no, Erdogan. Competing forces, competing interests. But we see that this indeed has been a long-term plan by Turkey to move into the northern region of Syria. And their excuse this time is that they want to set up a safe zone where they can return 2 million of the 3.6 million Syrian refugees who have fled to Turkey as a result of the Syrian civil war. Now, this to me, while I'm doing my best to be as objective as I can, but this to me seems much like America's excuse that we always use for humanitarian aid for other political and economic ends, because Erdogan and Turkey in general has been insistent upon not allowing the Kurds, the ethnic Kurds, to have the level of autonomy that could potentially lead to a fully autonomous state, Kurdistan. They have opposed the Kurds. Their number one interest has never been to get rid of ISIS, is to make sure that the Kurds never are given the autonomy necessary to become a fully autonomous state. That is the number one interest of Recep Tayyip Erdogan. You have to keep that in mind. That's so when they say they're interested in returning 2 million of the 3.6 million Syrian refugees to northern Syria, that just screams of a smokescreen, because what's getting ready to happen as a result of Donald Trump. What is getting ready to happen as a result of Donald Trump's conversation that he had with Erdogan last night is that a new front in this war is getting ready to open up. And before I go into any other analysis or any other conversation about this, realize that the SDF forces, led by Syrian Kurds, have already announced that they are going to defend their territory till the end, no matter what the cost. Another possibility in this is that the SDF forces are going to have to align with Bashar al-Assad, right? Which completely changes the dynamics of the Syrian civil war. So many competing interests in this. It's hard to keep up. But what I can assure you is that this action is going to lead to the potential ethnic cleansing of the Kurds. I don't even want to say it, but our former allies. Because at this point, the United States has head-faked betrayal, soft betrayal many times over the last 35 years of the existence of the Kurdish insurgent groups. America has essentially shown their willingness to betray them. But now we have the full betrayal thereof, the fullest. Donald Trump is leaving these forces that we literally have fought beside for years, who have lost, I believe the estimate, they have lost 10,000 soldiers their own, helping America fight against ISIS. And now that that fight is ostensibly complete, Donald Trump bragging about it being over, which it's technically not. But now that there's enough of an appearance of success, Donald Trump unilaterally, by himself, against the wishes of the Pentagon, against the wishes of Republicans, against the wishes of Democrats. There's bipartisan support, or rather opposition, to this move. But Donald Trump, being so enamored by strongmen, so enamored by would-be dictators or actual dictators and despots like Erdogan, Donald Trump, so in love with him, single-handedly betrayed our strongest allies. And when we say allies, not only allies because they're fighting against ISIS, but they're also allies because of the ideologies. And perhaps this is the reason that Trump betrayed them, because of their left-leaning ideologies, their semi-socialist economies, or at least desires to build upon a more egalitarian society. They are progressive in the context of the region. And you always have to view it through the lens of the region, right? You can't compare American progressivism to that of the Kurds. And of course, you can't say they're monolithic at all because they're not. But still, there's hope because of the type of political and economic ideologies, social ideologies that were growing in our allies. And we've betrayed them. We've given them up over to Erdogan, whose only goal is to ensure that they never become an autonomous body that could become a threat to Turkey.
Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show.
But this impulsive decision by the president has undone all the gains we've made, thrown the region into further chaos. Iran is licking their chops. And if I'm an ISIS fighter, I've got a second lease on life. So to those who think ISIS has been defeated, you will soon see. And to Turkey, you have destroyed the relationship, what little you had with the U.S. Congress. And I will do everything I can to sanction Turkey's military and their economy if they step one foot into Syria.
But they are.
I hope I'm making myself clear how short-sighted and irresponsible this decision is, in my view.
That was the voice of Lindsey Graham, Senator Lindsey Graham, who on any given day you will find me referring to him as a boot-licking fascist because he normally prostrates himself before the feet of Donald Trump in humble submission to anything that Donald Trump wishes to do. But I guess this is where he draws the line. And it is the kind of day I really don't know if I'm suffering from vertigo, but things are turned around and upside down because I agree with everything that he just said in that clip. I agree with it, except the fact that he has himself been emboldening Donald Trump by supporting him at every turn, even when clearly he was on the wrong side of not only history, but on the wrong side of policy and the wrong side of human decency. And so it's going to be difficult for Lindsey Graham and Republicans now to actually stand up to this guy because they've created a monster. But I will give it to Lindsey Graham. You got to give credit where credit is due. He's currently seeking a veto-proof bill to put sanctions on Turkey if they step one foot into Syria. He's looking to cripple Turkey, and I believe he even said a resolution to remove Turkey from NATO if they step one foot into Syria. Well, the thing is like that's happening right now as we speak this Monday morning. That's the difficult thing about this, is that it is happening right now as we speak. And by the time you get this podcast, it could be that there's an all-out war happening in the region, a new front on the war happening in the region. And this is all because of the impetuousness of Donald Trump and the fact that he does not consult with anyone else but his own personal gut and his own personal ego. And it just simply blows me away that one person, or rather our system is designed such that one person has the ability to throw everything. Listen, there are plenty of occasions when the United States is on the wrong side of an issue. Let's start there. Donald Trump is trying to spin this as something as, I just promised Americans that I was going to get us out of war. You're getting us into trouble with Iran, right? You're creating a problem with Iran. You're keeping us involved in the wars that should have been ended years ago, the ones that should never have been started. But there are plenty of occasions where the United States and the military have been completely on the wrong side of everything. But the tenuousness of the situation in northern Syria, particularly as it pertains to ISIS, as well as the independence of the Kurds, this was the one thing that the United States was getting right simply by, honestly, we did not have a strategy to do the right thing by the Kurds. We never have. I have to pause and just admit that. We have never had a policy whereby we were going to do the right thing by the Kurds. But what we didn't do was ever leave them, in this case, in the particular case of ISIS in northern Syria, we did not leave them at the mercy of their biggest enemy. And now Donald Trump has gone there, and here we are. I've got papers spread all across my desk this morning, just trying to figure this out as to what can be the motivation for this move. I mean, there's nothing but speculation, but I think the best, honestly, I think all of this, all the lives, think about this. This is the sentence that I stopped a few moments ago. There's so much power tied up into the United States presidency that once you get a person as irresponsible and as feckless and destructive as Donald Trump in that position, they have the ability to cause war and conflict on a scale that we cannot imagine, all because of their impetuousness and their infatuation with people like Erdogan. I honestly believe that Donald Trump just likes the strong men on the international stage. Almost analogous to the conversation we had about the Netflix series, The Family. The Family made it their purpose. They intentionally sought out the dictators, the brutal dictators, who they considered to be the wolves. They said Jesus is going to take care of the sheep. We're going to look after the wolves. And this is the type of behavior that Donald Trump engages in on the international stage. He is drawn to the dictator. He is drawn to the strongmen. He's drawn to the brutal authoritarians. And I honestly believe just because of the conversation he had last night on the phone with Erdogan, he was like, you know what? I'm going to do my friend I'm going to do my friend a favor. I'm going to go ahead and we're going to get, who cares? He doesn't even know. He probably doesn't even know who the Kurds are. He's just doing his friend a favor. And as a result of that myopic view of geopolitics, thousands of people are potentially going to be killed. A new front in this war, in the Syrian civil war, is going to open up. It's a tangential war, a war, and above all else, it creates a permanent divide between probably the best allies we could possibly get in that region. They have no reason to ever trust actually, they probably should never have trusted us to begin with, but they have no reason to ever trust us again. And what's more, here's what this does, right? This is actually something that the thought was stimulated by a tweet from little Marco Rubio, who is still playing, even with regard to this. He's saying, if reports are true that America is pulling out, well, I'm sorry, little bitch, but we literally have the statement and the troops have already made the movement, Marco. I'm sorry, not little bitch, but little Marco. Like, seriously, sir, it's happening. So why are you prevaricating and trying to dodge? Were you so traumatized by Donald Trump calling you little Marco that you're like, honestly, I hate to go on this huge tangent, but now that I think about it, obviously his entire brain has been broken, right? Because every morning he starts off his Twitter feed with scripture, and now he's talking about, if reports. No, Marco, the reports are not. It's not a report. It's happening. It's happening. The troops are being pulled out, and we're only talking about a small number of troops. We're talking, I think, about 200 to 2,000, depending on the specific region, troops. But it's not the number of troops who were there. It was America's guarantee to the Kurdish-backed or Kurdish-led Syrian Democratic Forces. But anyway, back to what he said that actually was decent. He said that this behavior underscores Iran's view of America, particularly where it pertains to the Joint Comprehensive Plan of Action, the nuclear deal, right? Donald Trump betrayed Iran. He betrayed the entire international community, but specifically Iran, by pulling us unilaterally out of the Iranian nuclear deal. And everyone at the time was like, man, this is not going to look good for the United States, because a long-standing belief, a long-standing tenet of international relations and international law and treaties and agreements is that pacta sunt servanda, Latin for agreements must be kept. And once you pull out of it, then no nation has a reason to believe that they can ever trust you again. Well, one betrayal deserves another. And here we are, literally throwing our friends to the wolves. This is this is a hell of a Monday morning, and we'll be following this obviously until its completion. I don't even really care about the domestic politics in this. They're completely irrelevant. I actually have to agree with Lindsey Graham that if the only way we can stop the bloodshed of this disaster that Donald Trump created is by throwing crippling sanctions on Turkey and kicking them out of NATO, or at least creating a resolution for the consideration, if that keeps the bloodshed of our Kurdish allies from spilling, then fine, so be it. Let's do it. I'm sure there are going to be ramifications from that. Yes, everything. But this is what happens, right? The domino effect, the cascading effect of accumulating disasters, all because Donald Trump just fancies Erdogan and his really strong, because that's what he wants here in the United States. Donald Trump wants in the United States what he sees his friend over in Turkey has, right? What Vladimir Putin has. He believes that he is the United States. He is the state government. He is America. And when he says make America great again, he's talking about making himself even greater. That's what's really happening here. And because of that, because of his adoration of Erdogan, we have created a situation that is a cascading effect that could potentially lead to the death of thousands of people, could lead to the resurgency of ISIS. And if the best case scenario out of this cluster F of scenarios is that we throw sanctions on Turkey, which is going to create problems for the citizens of Turkey, it's all one big mess. And you could thank your president, Donald Trump, for it. Okay, all right. I'm going to breathe after that. I'm going to chill. I wanted to start today's episode telling you guys about how proud of my son I was yesterday, and I'm going to do it here. Let's do a hard shift. 2 hard shifts. First things first. My son, y'all, I'm so proud of him. I just want to put it on this video, on this audio, so that one day when he's listening to my stuff, he'll stumble upon it. But my dude, he had to do a scripture in church yesterday, and we go to a pretty big church, right? I think we seat about 3,000 or 4,000 people. It's a nice sized church. And he got on the pulpit, looked out at everybody, and he had been practicing, the whole thing of, the introducing himself, telling everyone to stand, telling them what scripture to find. And he had been practicing, they put paper there for him to read. So all he had to do was read it. It would have been a no-brainer. He got on the podium, and the paper wasn't there. And I'm so proud of him because he had the presence of mind to not panic. He didn't go and look for the paper. He didn't turn around and look for me for help. He just went from memory. He just adjusted on the fly and went from memory. And later on when he told me, he said he just saw the words in his head and just said it. And can you imagine standing in front of that many people and having to adjust? And by the way, my son is 8 years old. I absolutely I am so impressed by anyone who could have the presence of mind to adapt in a situation that most people would be completely unnerved by. And my dude did that. So I'm proud of him. I just want to say that on the show. I'm super duper proud of my boy, Benjamin. All right. Also, I would like to thank all of our new patrons. Let me tell you something, guys. You guys showed out over the weekend, ladies and gentlemen. You guys showed out, and we have I think 5 new patrons. So a very special welcome and thank you to Sergio C. Thank you for becoming a patron. West C. Thank you for becoming a patron. Aziz F. Thank you for becoming a patron. Zach O. Thank you for becoming a patron. William M. Thank you for becoming a patron. Benji, thank you for becoming a patron. Ladies and gentlemen, please give a big round of applause to all of these new patrons who are making the show possible. Listen, I have something for the patrons, and I'm working on it every day. And I told you I'm writing something. I'm writing a novel. Okay, I'm writing a novel. I have just a little free time on my hand these days, and I've been writing a novel about political science fiction, and kind of it's. And you guys are going to be my screeners. You guys are going to be the ones who get the very first copy to read and give me some feedback. That's just because you're so cool. Because I'm sorry. I keep using guys, because it's just my habit. But you all have been so good to me that I want to be good to you as I finish working on this novel. And so that's it. I've had a hard enough day today with what's going on in Syria, northern Syria. with the SDF and the Kurds. We will continue to cover it, but I want to leave just on a positive note of thanking my patrons and telling you all how grateful and how I'm just impressed by my son. I am like legitimately impressed, because if he's doing that at 8 years old, man, can you imagine what my boy is going to be doing when he's my age, if we haven't already destroyed ourselves? But, well, that's what we're fighting to make sure that we don't do. Thanks a lot, everyone. Have a great day, and I will see you tomorrow.
The Benjamin Dixon Show is only possible with listener support. Go to www.patreon.com/The BPD Show and support The Benjamin Dixon Show. If you like this episode, be sure to share, like, and subscribe.